Welcome to another edition of, well, that's your opinion, man. We have a fantastic episode this week with Dennis Nagel as well as myself, Andrew Shelland. Deep dives are on the menu as we break down our current political landscape and its effects therein. We have about as sober an episode as can be expected on this particular podcast, so feel free to let us take the wheel as we navigate our world today. Without further ado, here is this week's discussion.
To dig the colorful things we say.
It's easy to fall in this line of, man, it's Iran, the world's number one sponsor of terror, and we gotta take them out, right? Torture chambers, weapons of mass destruction, right? Saddam's fucked, right? We gotta get him.
So you can look at it that way.
Well, that's kind of the easy road where it's like, yeah. And it's like, you see there's a problem with that.
I'm going to smoke a cigarette before we start. So, fuck it. Yeah.
Because too many people are like, yeah. Because it's like, it's like there's a lot of Democrats that don't like illegal immigration, dude. A lot of them. You know what I mean? They like, it's like the term Reagan Democrat. I was watching they're doing a focus group. It was from CNN, and it's funny how the host is like fucking combative.
Yeah.
But they were talking to former Obama supporters, and half the group voted for Trump.
Yeah.
They voted for Obama.
Yeah.
And, one of the ladies was quiet, and then what was her reason for a Democrat supporting Trump? Immigration. And it's like, there's a lot of immigrants that still, a lot of Democrats that say, America first, and they believe in America.
Yeah. Well, it's immigration. It's like when people immigrate here illegally and work, they're taking jobs away from the lower class people. They're not coming here and working at the corporate offices. They're taking like the easier jobs that other people would rely on, and if we didn't have if those people weren't working there, then
which is why Republicans like it and they act like they don't.
Yeah.
Well, we don't like this. Yeah, fuck you don't.
Well,
it's good for business, cheap labor, dude.
Even if they say even if you had a bunch of Democrats, or if you had, these jobs need to be filled, we don't have enough people working there. You're right, but it also stagnates wages at the lowest end because there's more competition for these jobs. If someone is not able to run their business because no one will come work for them because they're paying too little, then you would actually see a shift in wages at the lower level, which would cause the biggest increase for the general overall wage increases. When they track the wages in the country, they say it's stagnant. You raise the lowest half, that you're going to get the biggest increase in that. Do you want water? You want
no, I did not have. I thought it came in with a bottle.
Oh, it's on my stove.
Oh, and that's why the problem isn't being fixed. It's all a joke.
I've been cleaning the shit out of my apartment. The whole thing about men being able to, abortion isn't a women's right anymore. It's a humanity right, because not only women can get abortions. That's like, where the fuck do you go from there? That's not jumping the shark. That's jumping the cliff.
No,
into the middle of nowhere. You're floating off into space when you get that far away.
Most people don't even know how to respond to that.
But that's where shit's going. That is where shit's going.
But
that's the craziest thing.
It is. But Katie, since Katie, she's kind of like, she grew up in Uptown. So I'm like conservative. So she switched to conservative because I'm conservative. So she's real upset with the gay stuff. And I'm just like, calm down about it. It's just a fad. It's just, they're putting it in their cock. They're putting the gay cock in your face, and you're fucking. But it's a fad. It's a fad in the fact that we see the way they're pushing it. It's just they're trying. It's like a marketing kit. They're really just pushing it. It's gonna be out of style very soon.
So how I see it is, and there's actually kind of a history linking this to gay, the LGBTQ whatever culture. It's very tied to punk music.
Yeah,
you think about it, punks are wearing dresses back in the 70s and shit. They're doing that shock value stuff. And
when it used to be counterculture.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, the thing is right now we are living in American Idiot. The gay culture in America. It's Green Day after they released American Idiot, and punk was mainstream.
Yeah.
We'll listen to this album for a few years, and then we'll move on to something else. Yeah.
And and that's the way I see it, and it's just it's like a. But it's getting. But like we were saying though, it's like out of those, it's like Republicans. It's like the 25% that's conservative, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Half of those guys aren't down with a lot of stuff. Yeah. So it's like split in half to what's pure. And when we take this progressive and we split it in half of them are like, wait a minute, I thought we were trying to help people. And the other half is like, shut the fuck up. This is about power. You know what I mean? And that hard line, they're going to shrink. People are going to be like, what the fuck are you trying to do?
I think that really shows where it's too many people are looking to their politicians to set the tone for their society, how they view their society.
That's what a neighbor said. Why do we even have a society if we don't have these rules? I said, what the fuck are you talking about?
The whole thing is these are social issues. These are not political issues. And when you make these issues non-social and you make them political, you give them teeth because you start passing laws on it. You require people to have an opinion on it, and that ratchets up all the tension regarding this issue. It used to be we don't want that in our culture, in our society, those kind of things. But now that we're making it a political thing, we're forcing people to have opinions on things that really don't affect a lot of people.
No, and we see that they're getting pushier and pushier. Now it's like if it's when you get down to it, it's like not that many people are out in support of it as you think. And it's like the ones who don't come out for it, the ones who are like, we're not having enough progress. If you don't say you're for it, that means you're against it. You know what I mean?
Those kind of things, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is a unrelated but related. Do you know who Chrissy Teigen is?
No.
She's basically a non-celebrity, Instagram famous influencer, but she's married to John Legend, Asian chick, huge into politics.
Yeah.
Right. Why am I bringing her up? They have a new show on NBC about comedians, and they have I forget who the star of it is. Kenan Thompson, some other dude who's funny. So they're finding the next comedian.
Yeah.
But it's got Kenan Thompson, Chrissy Teigen, and some dude who's Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm watching, I'm like, and she's half naked throughout it, tits out.
Okay.
And it's like, she's a comedian? What's she doing on the show? You know what I mean? And
I've never heard of her.
Yeah,
I don't know who she
that's
is.
the point.
Yeah.
But she's not a comedian. And when you get down to it, I walk through Target, she's got advertisements up. When I see CNN, they promote her. NBC, it's like, why? Because she's that advocate for that far left policies that they can use as like the little token. You know what I mean? A little token person who's always going to toe that line for them. And they prop up those people.
Well, it adds the dimension of, hey, this is what we are. This is what we are.
Well, and
be careful leading it. I think it's picking you up a little bit.
Well, it's like when Limbaugh was on ESPN. You know what I mean? You can't have something perceived far right to be seen as neutral. Because... and I think what they want to do, so in that, if the far right was in control of the media, they want the far right seen as neutral, right? But we see that the left is in control of the media, so they want the far left to be seen as like the, neutral common ground.
Just the reality.
Yes, just the reality.
Just the reality. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a big
it's totally
scam
untrue.
they get going right now.
I would say the fact that we are inundated with such leftists, it's not just the news, it's all of Hollywood, it's California pushing its policies on the rest of the world, really. social ideals that they consider, and I think the fact that the real counterculture is the right.
Well, and I've seen
The
that
counterculture
that
is
meme
the
that
right.
says counterculture in the '80s was the punk, New York leather,
Mm-hmm,
and it says counterculture today. It was a mom and a dad and a kid.
yeah.
You know what I
Honestly,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think about they talk. I always wonder. We're in a pendulum swing right now. So Donald Trump is president because Obama was president, and Obama was pretty divisive. And the thing is we're swinging back right now because we have the oppressive Republican who's really not past shit.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't done anything that's remotely scary. He's been pretty successful, pretty middle of the road, if anything.
Yeah.
Besides him talking, actual policy wise, he's been pretty tame on everything. It's just the fear. Everyone's so fearful of this crazy guy in the office. I just wonder, like they talk about Generation Z, the generation behind us, as maybe being the most conservative generation in a very long time.
Well, it's weird how like my aunts and uncles were loose. All of them drug
Yeah.
problems. Half of the grandkids, no, not so much. And it's like when mom and dad are doing the drugs or they're living the counterculture, like you said, your counterculture ends up being getting in line, towing the line a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we'll see, and that's kind of what the successfulness of the progressive agenda under Obama was, just that sort of cementing it as, like, the reason why he wanted to be seen as Reagan is because Reagan sometimes wasn't even seen as political. They had to always frame everything with him. It's like the jelly beans. It's just Obama. It's like, thanks, Obama. You know what I mean? That meme. You know what I mean?
I grew up in a very conservative area, and I grew up loving Obama. I would watch his speeches. I was like junior in high school or something, sophomore in high school when he was campaigning and shit. And like I would tear up at when he would talk. I'm like, this guy's fucking awesome. Like, why has no one thought of this before? Type shit. I was just an idiot high schooler. And like, through college I was liberal leaning and shit. And then when I finally left my small little conservative area, I came up here and I realized that everyone's working with the same information. It's just ideology.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's no intelligent factor behind left versus right. It's just how you feel.
Yeah.
There's no inherent good or inherent, moral purpose or divine intelligence behind either side. It's your fucking opinion, which is why I'm libertarian, because if you can't agree, then you shouldn't do anything to anybody.
No, it's I do believe that if you want to save the world, stop trying to save the world. And this is how, like we said it so many times, how Peterson just skyrocketed to fame in just like a year or two. It's because it's just simple things. Clean your room.
Make your bed. Make your bloody bed.
Well, especially him being
Damn
a
it.
psychologist and dealing with people, but he's a college professor. Imagine seeing all these kids thinking, they're like totalitarian, self-righteous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're sitting here trying to dictate to you, and they can't even make their own damn.
I mean, they
can't even clean their own room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's people who have not figured out their lives trying to figure out other people's lives. It's literally what it feels like right now, And just because you have an opinion doesn't mean that you're able to force that opinion on anyone else. It's like fucking hate speech, which is, I'm a pretty nice dude. I'm pretty PC when it comes to going around each day. I don't talk too much, but fuck hate speech. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, and this is why too. When I was listening to our last podcast, one thing that stuck out to me is just common sense doesn't exist in the extremes.
No.
And it's if they can, this is why we see things like hate speech and all these things to control things. It's to block that interpersonal. It's sort of like when I'm at the gas station and I talk to the guy for a second, or when you're here, like you said, I'm PC as hell. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I talk to people from every which way. I mean, 90% of the time, people are who they are, and you kind of can feel them out right away.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't really matter to me. But if you take what's sort of like, I was listening to this teacher lecturing a student because he in class said there's only two genders, and the student's like,
wait, what?
Yeah, well, the student in his class is like,
this is a real story?
Yeah, it was, and he was just basically saying there's two genders, and the teacher's like sent him out of class, right? And then he came back after the class. He comes in, but he's secretly recording them. You know what I mean? And he's like, you know, why'd you kick me out? He's like, you know why you were kicked out. And then they're going back and forth, and he's like, but there's only two genders. And the teacher literally says, policy is not dictated by scientific facts. And it's just, and it's
that's like the whole living my own truth type bullshit.
Well, this is exactly kind of what the conversation I had today with somebody is, well, why can you define it? Well, you can't define that. Well, what is this? Well, everyone has their own truth, and I'm just trying to explain to her my definition of solid. It's being balanced, so then that way, when this new way comes in, it's like if you're standing firm and it just blows you over there, now you're way off course. And if you're not solid and sort of able to, you know, take two competing ideas and be able to merge them into a truth and separate what's fact and fiction, you're not going to be able to function at all in this world.
Yeah.
You know, and with, you know, her being a teacher, just, you know, she's basically saying, what is truth? There is no truth. And we see the fruits of that in that, you know, nobody stands firm, like with the young people, with young men, nobody stands firm in anything, you know, and there's no, and when you kind of remove a solid foundation, all that's left is your feelings. Well, that's not good enough. Well, you know, I mean, what if my feelings are, I want to tip your beer over? And you say, oh, that's being extreme. Well, no, it's not. We're human beings and we do strange stuff. You know, it's.
I have a condition. I have OCD. I need to make it. You know, you're oppressing me by not allowing me to do that kind of a thing. You can make those arguments, and I think there's, you know, that might be a caricature of an argument, but we are living caricatures of arguments right now.
Well, that's all it is. Even all of our topics. I was thinking about it's like, what topics do you talk about? But everything's kind of like a red herring.
That's what it's
come
to today.
Everything's like it's so much rhetoric. You know,
you sent me a video about the reparations thing, and
yeah.
Well, I don't want to talk about reparations, but he had said something that
he got booed.
And
he's a Democrat.
Fuck.
And he made perfect sense.
He did such a good job. I didn't agree with him.
Well, it figures you would say that.
I agreed with him, and I disagreed with him.
Same thing.
But he was well spoken. I love how he put. Like, I never heard anyone put it this way. He's like, people are suspicious of each other. I'm like, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
People aren't just mad. They're suspicious. And I think they're scared. I think that's what we're seeing a lot of. When you're suspicious of someone, you're just scared of them, what they're going to do. And I think that's a great way to put it. For some reason, there's such heightened tension, which is, I think, because there's so much on the line, because we've politicized so much of society, we've upped the ante on all of these issues.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And, you know, if the whole world does not reflect those ideologies, they're being attacked, they're being oppressed. And they can gin up the mob on anybody. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, and it's like, I had a friend who I asked him if he if I forget how I put it, but I asked him, how does he feel about the state? And he says, well, I don't trust people. Why would I trust a group of them? I thought that's a good answer. That's a great way to put it. And he's a non-political dude. Yeah. You know, the most politics he hears is me just talking with him. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. If you, I don't trust people. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, honestly. Well, no, and there's not some all-knowing force out in the world that happens. You know, when people go into a room and just vote on something.
No, and especially, given the history of people control and what happens when people go into a room and vote on something, it doesn't turn out too well.
No.
There's only really one or two cases, and that was, the founding fathers and a lot of how they came up with the documents that we have, where they did just lock
Yeah.
and just lock away, debate. And I think that's the only way where it's like the that video I sent you.
Yeah.
There was more than a few things I disagree with him. There's more than a few things I agreed with him. I was able to take the information, perceive it, decipher it, and understand it, and allow it to be what it is.
Yeah.
So and that allows for a balance to be. And that's the thing of why common sense doesn't exist in the extremes is because it's the common ground. You know what I mean? It's where it's where I have to give. It's like a fight. If I want to hit, I got a risk of get hit.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's the great thing about the conversation I had earlier is because I realized, and this is why debating and just talking with others is good, is you throw out an idea and they're able to counter. And you're like, oh, I don't have a reaction to that. I guess I didn't think this one through. Then you're able to evolve and change yourself.
Well,
and that's how you further a conversation.
What I would say is it was a little ironic when, because you guys were just talking about, kind of Democrats in general, I think, and Democrats live your own truth, inclusion, those kind of things.
Yeah.
But the thing is if you want everyone to truly live their own truth, you leave them alone as much as possible.
Well, yeah, you don't advocate.
Well, exactly. And the thing is you take away those potential powers that can be used against them, because theoretically, if it's okay that everyone lives their own truth, then these conservative ideologies have just as much space on the table as any others. These demagogue, quote unquote
we
demagogue,
don't accept hate.
Exactly, bullshit type things. If you're allowing the fact that if you're willing to say that there's no such thing as truth, it's individual truth, then these terrible things have just as much credence because who are you to judge?
Yeah, well, I mean, somebody's going to have to judge. And like I said to her, and that's what I said, it's like society, and especially kids are saying live your own truth, but then there's a secular social caste system that once you do that, you're judged. It's like I said to her, if you're selling your house, and you get two real estate agents that you're going to hire. One shows up with purple hair, and one shows up the exact image you have of a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Who are you choosing? Well, but I thought you just said it was okay to do what I wanted to do. And it's like you can't. It's like I like to gas people. Is in a good way where you give them energy. I like to be positive, even in just small moments.
Yeah.
But it comes to
I
the
thought
point,
you meant like gas, like Jews. That's I thought you were meaning.
I'm going to take back that laugh. Mm-hmm. No. It's more like
you
gas
can put
up.
your arm down now. So.
It's more like gas up, and there's a negative where you can gas someone up. It's sort of like hyping them.
Yeah.
But it's like in a positive way.
Sure.
But there's only so much you can positively give someone good energy before. You have to also give them sort of something solid. Otherwise, all you're doing is just, you can't. It's like if somebody comes in, you come in and say, how does this look? And I say, looks great. Is that the shirt you really want to wear? Looks great. And you walk out and you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it's especially with all, with young people or, young women, I see it's, I'm probably stepping into dangerous territory, but, I don't, if people want to consider leggings, pants, then that's fine, but at the end of the day, you got to understand
I'm absolutely fine with leggings being pants.
And there's my point.
I'm absolutely fine with
exactly.
that.
Yeah. So ladies, if you're fine with him being fine, by all means, wear that.
That's why they wear it, though.
The thickness of spandex is unmeasurable.
It's
when you bend over, we see everything. But the point
it becomes
is
translucent. Yep.
Yeah.
It gets
So
stretched depending on how
you can say.
Masses.
Let me ask you this question, because you can say, "Well, wear what you want to," and this is matter of fact. I'll just ask this rhetorically because I don't want you or I answering this question, but as much as the population of men are okay with women dressing scantily clad so as to look at them, at what point does it start to drop your respect level? You know what I mean? Because it's like, you can say, oh yeah, that looks nice, but it's like, okay, nice to marry, nice to be your doctor. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say it drops the respect. I would say it drops the way you look at them and the way you envision them.
And that's still
the way people envision each other has a certain amount of respect.
Yeah, so it comes to the point where, though, is this whole do what thou wilt does not help the individual. And like you said, you came from where it was more conservative, right? Yep. So you could sort of walk with the other elephants, learn how to be an elephant. Well, I came from where it's more progressive. So you walk with the donkeys, and you don't learn how to be a donkey. Everyone's going their own way.
Sure.
So it's like when there's no...
there is much more general social cohesion in conservative areas.
There's really none.
And the thing is it is held, you know, if you do something they don't understand or they don't do, they're gonna like, why did you do that? Why are you doing that? What's going on?
Yep.
And you do have to answer that shit.
With the other side, it's like, what can I say?
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny whenever I go like home or like, you know, around some people I used to know, they do ask you questions where you're like, I wouldn't even have thought to ask that, you know, like just because it's just what I do, you know. But everyone's like, it's nitpicky in like more conservative areas.
It's making you stronger, though.
Well, it causes you to answer for who you are, I suppose.
Yeah,
that's one way to look at it.
That's like what culture should be. This is why it's like in Sweden they're all Swedish and here there, and it's weird.
Yeah, it's the homogeneous. It's the
it's weird
the building
how
of the culture. Yeah,
most people don't have your best interests at heart. Even family nowadays, when you get outside of a that sort of a positive environment, you know. I grew up around I have a lot of Hmong friends, and I remember one time I'm over at a friend's house, and family gets together, and you know, one of the nephews, he's going to be graduating high school, and they're sitting there, and one saying you could do this, and it's just the way they were going around and, you know, giving positive feedback and building. It was just like, I was like 25, I've never seen anything like that before. I'm like, whoa. This is what a loving family looks like, you know? And it was like that, and it's like that guy's going to have a much better chance of succeeding because they understand what solid is.
Yeah, well,
there's not like, mushy.
He's got a safety net.
Yeah, well, nobody's like, you know, it's like aunt and uncle don't have a tattoo on the forearm, and they're like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like there's some form of cohesiveness where I make it, you make it. And we used to have that as like a culture, you know, as like just a normal thing in America. And it's really, really broken down to all of a sudden now it's like tribal group. And here's the thing. You can't be, let's say, a racist and still a good guy. So it's like you can't say, well, I just don't like blacks, but I love white people. If you're hateful, you're hateful. It's going to manifest itself out. I mean, even Hitler gave gifts to his kids, right? So you can be, you know.
Did Hitler have kids?
I don't know. No, I just threw that one out there.
I don't think he had kids.
Ava never gave him any?
I don't even think they fucked.
Braun was barren. Well, he was.
No, they didn't get down like that.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the rumors. They didn't do something like that.
But you know, bad guys give gifts to their kids too. You know, and it's.
They can be good people to people. Yeah.
But I've grown up around, you know, you've met a few racists.
Oh, yeah.
And usually those racists, that anger comes out to everybody. The racists that I've known, they were a little bit of a jerk to their wife, this, that, the other. There's no human being that can compartmentalize hatred.
I would say that.
So, and it's like anything
everyone's
else.
Racist.
Well, sure.
But the thing is
we're talking about, you know what I'm saying.
No. So in my mind, you know, everyone's racist. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, Indian, feather and dot. It doesn't matter if you see differences, because we are different. Our cultures are different. Oh, yeah. You know, they totally are. That's why there's white jokes. That's why there's black jokes and shit like that. You know, the thing is whether or not you're an asshole. You know, that's the only thing that separates good people from bad people, is if you put weight and morality and shit like that to race. It's one thing to everyone's fucking racist. Just depends on whether you consider those people to be subhuman or not. Everyone's human on the underneath it and shit.
No, and I've come up with something that I say is nobody is ever less of a human. Sometimes the most inhumane is still human. You know what I mean? And it's like that concept. Even like I see a lot. I wouldn't say a lot. It's all over, but it's like I've even just using the. It's like those people. Oh, they deserve this, or even like the term animal. It's like I know Trump was talking about, and those guys are animals. I mean,
let's get some context. So, Donald Trump has been referenced as saying Mexicans are animals. However,
rapists.
In that very specific context where he said animals, he was asked a question about MS-13, the gang, which is one of the most violent, fucked up gangs in the country.
Yeah.
They come from Mexico. They come here illegally and shit. And yeah, there was a killing in a New York subway by the MS-13 gang. They are animals. They're fucking insane.
We get the tame version of them up here. You know, it's like if you were to get down to how many murders happen along that Mexican border,
it's insane.
From like 100 miles in and out. It's like 50,000, and I remember that was like 3-4 years ago. That just there was 50,000 murders in just like.
Well, you remember when that school bus went missing in Mexico?
Yeah, of college students.
The authorities went trying to find their bodies, and they found like mass grave after mass grave, and it wasn't the college students. They were just digging up people that they just got killed, like they didn't know, just buried in the middle of nowhere. That's insane.
Yeah,
fuck.
And that's the thing though, is like these guys are trying to prove they're animals because that's the that's the law of the jungle, right?
Yeah.
But as it's sort of like you can't kill evil without being evil too much. So it's kind of like people are people.
Mm-hmm.
Part of being human is like Peterson says too, you got to relate to the fact that you could have been one of those Gestapos. You know what I mean? It's in you to do that. It's in everybody to do that. And it's a type of thing where, not to say that, but there's nothing inhuman about being inhuman. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So, and this is what it ties it back to just what we're talking about. Do what you want to do. Well, you can't unlock the it of people because at the end of the day, some of us are hell bent on proving we're an animal because we don't. It's like we're born a lot. Like we talk about mental health nowadays. Everyone has a form of a mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? This is why it's like when it's like you notice that most of these celebrities, when they want to get some good PR, my mental health. You notice how it's like that's the new cool thing?
I was watching Aubrey Plaza eat hot wings because I'm in love with you, Aubrey Plaza. All right,
I've seen her. She's like a quirky weird lady, right?
Yeah.
I've seen her.
Love her.
I watched the like odd videos. I love that type of dry humor.
She's in Chucky and she's playing the mom. I'm like, she's officially that age now. She's getting up there. She's like 32. Like
she doesn't look it though.
She's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, I'm going to my therapist now. I'm like,
yeah, it's promoted.
It's promoted.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel though, because life is hard. Most people need a reason to say life is worth living.
If you're a very successful person or just a successful person in general and you need to go to a therapist, then you just need to change your life. You just need to change. I think it's over analyzation of our lives.
Well, there's no doubt of it. Yeah. Like I was saying to the a person I was talking to, it's like in this is what I was meaning about when I was talking about the when I brought up spandex earlier, is when you go out to the suburbs, there's more. They wear spandex more than you'd say in the inner city. There's more common sense because people have to deal with life and repercussions.
Yeah. And
when you go out to the suburbs, there's security, which breeds weakness. Which breeds. Next thing you know, everyone's just kind of dads. Dads wants to, whatever his hobby is, go off in the garage. well, he wants his reality. Well, then everyone gets to have their own reality.
If a dad doesn't have a full yard to fuck around in, then what kind of a dad do you have?
Well,
That's if you have a 10-foot, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. Well, I mean,
You gotta have your man shit, you know.
yeah. Well, you got to have something solid underneath you. Otherwise, you're kind of negating 1,000 years of instinct, because now you're like, I
Like
don't-
you're a painter, you know. Do you want to talk about you being a painter?
It's
Well, not you being a painter, but just like, do you want that mentioned?
Well, I mean, yes and no, because it's. I mean, I don't mind it.
Like you get shit done, you know, throughout
Well-
your day. Most guys sit behind a computer now, and they go through sexual harassment trainings and shit, and everyone's walking on eggshells now.
Yeah.
And it's a total. I would say it's a blending of the sexes a little bit in the offices,
It is.
you know.
Well, the women have become more masculine and the men more feminine.
Yeah.
And I've actually just I referenced it today talking to a customer, because I said, I've worked in the area 15 years,
Yep.
and I just, out of all the customers, I've never talked to a solid man over there.
I am absolutely much more feminine at work.
Well,
I would
because
totally say that, and I think the reason I've been successful at work is because I've done that.
but isn't that sort of look? I used to get a lot of people made fun of me because my voicemail, I would do this because I got a deep voice.
Yeah.
Hello, this is that, because
Yeah,
I want
honestly,
to sound non-threatening. It's a certain conformity.
You have to do it.
You
can't get away with not doing it.
Well, it's sort of like CJ says, most leasing agents are women.
Most people in
That's because it's like people want to deal with women. You know what I mean? It's more easier. It's homey.
Yeah.
Guys are kind of like, it's a house. You know what I mean? And a woman can be a little bit more intimate
more
with the job.
framing,
Yeah.
mindset.
Well, and sometimes that's that little finessing is what it takes.
Yeah.
You know what
it's
I mean?
It's not nuts and when you're just trying to sell something in general, you don't sell nuts and bolts. You sell it's the brass, shit like that.
Well, no,
you know?
think of a car salesman
This
and how
is from
shady
Taiwan,
how shady those car dealer
greasy ass used car dealers. Yeah.
Now imagine a woman as one of those.
Yeah, she'd probably be pretty successful at it.
Yeah, it should be, but it'd be like it would be interesting to see that greasy, because you're only used to seeing men that greasy and that type of thing.
All she had to do was let's take her for a test drive and just act like she really enjoyed you driving her around. Sold car.
Man,
that easy. Men are simple creatures.
How many times that would work?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
It's it doesn't even make sense with, it's just like you go out on a Saturday night. I mean, last time I went somewhere, I was just with a friend. We got a beer somewhere, and it was like, two women, and it was like three groups of guys trying to you could see they were just radaring in on her.
Oh,
and it's like that really doesn't happen the other way. Women don't look and say, "Ooh, a wounded gazelle. Look at those guys."
Fuck.
And the way guys do that.
Well, I would say men are good at selling. Like, going back to the selling thing, I think men are good at selling opportunities, and they're good at selling value.
A dream.
Yeah, I think they're good at those two things. I think women are good at selling experiences and nuances more. It's two different strengths.
Yeah.
Both are good in their own right. I think that's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I got 50-50 that all of this talk of what we think women are or what our opinions on them, we might even just cut out, because it's like, is that too racy?
What? No.
Because should we be speaking on such issues?
Let us know if two white males should be having opinions on these.
Speaking of which,
go to the kitchen and make me a sandwich. All right.
I was listening to.
I was directed at you, Dennis.
Oh, okay.
Not the women listening to this.
Listening to AM 950 Progressive Radio St. Paul today, and I forget the guy's name. Don't hear him much, just when I get in there. But he's got a diversity training, and he said my show's going to be on at 5 o'clock today. I'm going to talk about a meeting I attended in Chicago that was based on should straight white men be leading any movements within the social justice world or leading groups of non-straight white men. And it's just like, what type of conversations are you having if that's the center of it? You know what I mean?
That's
so
the whole thing.
You're devalued.
So many people think that the whole world needs to reflect their ideologies and that they are oppressed if that's not done so. The diversity of ideas is the reason why their ideas are existence in the first place, you know? And that's what really grinds my gears is people, they are so small-minded still, even if they have, you know, a self-belief of an open mind.
Well, and we see the most open-minded are usually the most closed-minded too.
Honestly,
you know?
But I also think the people with the biggest opinions have the smallest mindsets.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Well, it's hard to get honest talk out of everyone because it's kind of like the first 5 minutes are just going through the sound bites, and then they don't know if they can be honest, and then it's like how much truth do they want to know? You know, because each person is kind of like, we have to make our own decision of it's like, how much do we want to know? Because like we talked about, it's like, this is the information age is the misinformation age, and you have to make that decision. Is this enough information for me?
Yeah.
Because any issue, it's like I was saying, I talk to people all the time, and because I go out on a limb, you know, it's you'd be surprised you'd be surprised how many times I get positive feedback, which someone else might think they're being negative to me. But to me, when I can talk and hear you give me something that I didn't think of back, it causes me to ponder, and I have to go back and rewrite my map.
Yeah.
And for most people, you might as well just be like, you know,
I think
causing them to do something they just don't want to do.
Well, I think the funniest thing is like when I'm really drunk and I get an Uber home from the bar and like I have no filter, and maybe it's just because I'm drunk and they just want to like
so many dash cams.
Well, the thing is it's like I remember one dude was just like, "Fuck yeah, man!" Like
yeah,
and it's like people have these opinions, but they're just so suppressed, you know. That's the crazy. I think the amount of dialogue's not encouraged in today's society at all.
And agree or disagree, you find that when you're just honest, there's a certain connection with people where you can feel like, you actually have a positive reaction.
Yeah.
And I've gone to people I've disagreed with where I'm like, oh man, and then next time I see them, it's like, hey, and I'm like, hey. Because there's a certain level of honesty, you know what I mean, that we react to because we do like dialogue. You know what I mean? As people, it's kind of like you know how you see it's like playing.
Yeah.
As adults, it's like a fun push pull play thing, and it's how you become stronger. You know,
I would say so. Coming from the small town again. People down there, if they disagreed with you, worst case scenario, they said, "Fuck you, you dumb fuck." "Fuck you, you piece," you know. But if you disagree with someone up here, it's like you are a terrible person. You are, it's so much more of a shaming environment up here. And you do not agree with me, you are a bad person. I would just if you disagree with someone, disagree with them, and if you're not happy with their opinions, fucking just yell at them. Fuck it. That's much better to yell at someone than shame them into silence.
It ends up being
like,
honest.
Fuck.
You know, it's like your neighbors are loud and you don't confront them, so you call the cops. You know, go through the pains of being honest, and you might even connect more.
Yeah.
You call the cops, or if you just go through the same hey, hi, the shallow end, you're not going to connect with anyone.
Maybe it's a Minnesotan thing too, where they don't want confrontation, but they also want to really badly express their opinion. So maybe they're just bad at expressing their opinion because they don't like to disagree in the first place.
Yeah,
So
you
they
know,
end up taking it to a whole different kind of level for it.
yeah, I think it's also good, just a way to insulate yourself
Yeah.
because it's so much easier to it's like you can tell, and this is why we respect people who are honest, even if you disagree with them. You can tell when somebody's willing to go to the deep end with you, or they're giving you, because really you're giving you a part of yourself, and if they aren't willing to go to the deep end, give something,
Just
they're not
fucking
solid.
do it. Just
and we
do
don't
it.
respect them.
I would say it's like, so like I think probably the worst thing about me that I can say right now would be, and here it is, Donald Trump winning the election last, when the night Donald Trump got elected. I didn't vote for him. I won't ever vote for him, but that was one of the happiest nights of my life. No joke, because he beat the fucking machine. He beat the world. You look at, I have a Facebook memory that pops up around every election. It's like, last year you shared this, and it was the New York Times, and it was like, what's Hillary Clinton gonna wear when she accepts the presidency? Like they had already phoned it in, like Hillary Clinton won, we did it. Like it was just. They were just so damn sure, and it was such a celebratory bullshit New York or just liberal shit show, and to bring them down so hard, Donald Trump, no one but Donald Trump could have brought them back to reality so badly, and then you see the liberals just crash and burn and have a hissy fit, like they It totally collapsed so many people's worlds.
Yeah.
It was like tearing like the a hole in the sky and seeing another Earth. Like it just like it took them out of reality. Like they broke the fourth wall. It was like breaking all their fourth walls. That's literally how I saw it. And that was like the only. I don't like Donald Trump too awful much. He does stuff that I do like, stuff I don't like. But that was and will forever be the best thing he's ever done in his life. Was just bowling through that shit.
If he doesn't do anything else,
he could not have passed a single thing, and it would have all been worth it. Yeah. He brought so many people, I think, not into reality because I think they overjumped that, but it brought them back from where they were,
Two questions, and I guess the third one is just a statement, is Gary Johnson, what in the hell? So that's just one I can't get over. I don't understand, but what the hell was the
okay.
I don't understand that one with the libertarians and that guy. I mean, they could have done they could have recruited anyone else.
Bill Weld was the worst part of that whole thing. But I saw Gary Johnson give a speech. It was like 3 weeks before the election. He came to Minnesota. The Minnesota Libertarian Party fucking moved mountains to get him up here, apparently, because he wasn't going to win up here, So he came up here and he gave a speech, and I was like, we fucking lost. I was like, you've been doing this how many months, and your speech is like you're making excuses and shit while you're talking to your base. You get us fired up and you give us talking points. You don't give us excuses and shit. It was like he was self-questioning himself on stage.
Yeah,
it
was
like, what the fuck you doing?
It was a train wreck when I heard him talk. I was just like, what is this?
He smoked too much pot.
Yeah, and
he smoked too much pot.
He literally he sounded like he was doing it during the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But so the that was just like, that was my red herring right there that I just had to get out of my head. But two questions. I'll ask them both and then just see what your answer is. Yep. One is, what could Trump do to get your vote? Yep. And the second one is, we know out of the top 7 candidates, one of those is going to be president.
Are you talking about for Democrats?
Both, Republican and Dem. I mean, Trump and the Democrats. I don't even think top 10 is too far. I'll say top 7 since it's a big field and it's so iffy.
Okay.
So, which to you, or would it be, at least we can just make it simple, is there any Democrat or Trump, which is the better for the country? would you say?
So I would say, first of all, I would preface before I answer Donald Trump. I shook Gary Johnson's hand when he was here.
I'll never vote for anyone but a libertarian, sir.
I literally said, thank you for giving me someone to vote for. And I meant it. And I still mean that because he did give me someone to vote for. I agreed with his policies even though he was a terrible candidate. You know?
Yeah, and
his policies are solid. They're more in line with my own.
I was looking at him and, saying, okay, let's give this guy a shot. And then it's like the first time I heard a speech, I thought, oh my gosh.
There was no better election for a libertarian to make massive gains than the last one, and he fumbled the ball.
And it was, and on a side note, before I distract you, is if it was a better candidate, he could have took votes away from Trump.
Yeah.
So Trump's pretty lucky that the epic failure of Gary Johnson wasn't somebody like a Ron Paul or like a Nader or a Perot that other guys had to deal with that screwed him over.
Yeah,
that screwed the.
Nader would have taken from both, but
I'm saying from the past when now Nader, I think Nader's he's old news now.
Fucking old. So Donald Trump, the only way I don't care about what he tweets about. I don't give a fuck. Like the whole idea of he's disgracing the office. The office is a disgrace. We've killed millions of people. That's how I see it. It's like there's these offices are dirty as fuck, and if he limits them in some way, that's vicariously a good thing in my opinion. If our allies, we want to keep our allies and things like that, but we don't want these huge coalitions just running the earth. We want individual people running the earth.
Isn't that a scary thing too?
Oh, that is. But yeah, the only thing that would get me to vote for Donald Trump is if he stopped all bombings. So we just stop bombing people. Even though we don't hear about it in the news ever, we're still probably dropping a bomb a day somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
You know? If he did that, if he stopped all bombing, and if he honestly just stopped all bombing. If he did that, I would probably be like,
honest question.
That's not bad.
Honest question, because it's like let's just take it. This is just the way it is. It's like we're addicted to bombing, right?
Yeah.
It's like a drug addict. So what is an acceptable level to start cutting down on our heroin bombing to where it's like where you're like, you know what? It seems like we're kind of getting out of this phase of kind of this sort of interventionist approach.
The first thing we do is we ground every drone, and if we want to kill someone, we send a dude up in a plane to do it. You got to have more skin in the game. So it's got to be worth putting someone at risk to kill this dude. If it's not, then we shouldn't kill him. We shouldn't turn it into a video game like we've been doing the last 10 years. Because that's what Obama did. That's what Obama did, No,
I know.
Yeah, if we're not putting people in harm's way to kill other people, then we shouldn't be killing those people. They're not worth killing, Yeah. That's how I see it. Yeah.
Well, and if we were to, reserve it to people, it's like reserve it to people we know it. You know what I mean? Where it's like Gaddafi's doing all this stuff, and then one day, all of a sudden, when it's expedient for them for their narrative, boom, they take them out.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, well,
Hillary Clinton talked about rigging Libya's elections.
Yeah.
Like, fuck. Let me reverse that question on you.
Yeah.
What? I know you won't vote for anyone else but Donald Trump. Probably.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
What is something about Donald Trump that would cause you not to vote for him?
Well,
if anything was accentuated about what he's doing currently, not just something like he could do theoretically. What's something he's doing right now if it became a bigger issue that would cause you to take pause in voting for him?
Well, I think we can probably answer this the same way. At this current time, what he's doing as president, nothing. You know what I mean? If he just continued doing what he's doing now, nothing.
Yeah.
But what it would have to be, if I were to separate from him, it would sort of be like, some sort of, kind of, it would have to be some sort of,
I got you there, didn't I?
Well, no, it's just you're asking me why I wouldn't vote for him.
What one thing that he does that if it was more pertinent in his candidacy would cause you to not vote for him?
I would say there's really,
gotta be something. You can't agree with him
besides
totally.
his being, if he were to be found out to be nefarious and not love the country, and there was like a chink in his armor, to the point where
He
it
wasn't
was
being
the luster
genuine?
and he wasn't being genuine.
Yeah.
But as it is
Okay.
right now, it's like Jim Leahy. I love the park, and I believe Trump loves America.
I love the park.
I mean, besides, he's not the perfect, and when we get down to it, I just read the Old Testament, and David, the Star of David flies over Jerusalem and in Israel right now.
Yep.
David wasn't a perfect man. I'm not going to sit. I could sit here and name 5 or 6 stories
Yep.
where it's just this is the way it is. But at the end of the day, though, it's like Trump finding out that he doesn't love the country as
Okay.
much as he portrays.
Yeah.
Well, the Clintons and Obamas, they got into the presidency with under a couple million. Let's just say they say less, whatever. Let's just say $1 million.
Yep.
One's worth like hundreds of millions, and the Obamas are going to have no problem getting money.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that you could say, well, Trump's businesses are going to gain, and maybe in the long run, but I think he's losing personal wealth by being there. So at the end of the day,
Oh yeah.
why is he doing it? He's 72 years old. And it's the reason why the memes are funny with him is because,
I think it's a good point. I'd like to accentuate that. He is losing money right now.
yeah, well,
And he's getting a lot more shit. Like,
Well, and
his life is
let me
not
ask you
bettered
this.
by being president right now.
there's 2 candidates, and I would have to extend it because Tulsi Gabbard, I don't believe, is in the top 10 of even the Democrats. They don't want her to
she's
be.
way down.
Yeah. But there's 2 candidates where I feel like they care enough about the country and what the country is built on is like the little man
Yep.
and the common man. And I believe like Tulsi Gabbard and the Donald Trump are really the only, and it's like guys like Cory Booker, they want to do they want the state to do things. When I look at it, I hear Tulsi Gabbard, I don't hear her saying the state got to do this. Anyone who's on the side of the state doesn't understand history because it's not a good thing.
Well, the
Does
thing-
Donald Trump want to build the state? Not that I've seen, not that he's talked, and it's kind of like, here's the thing too. And this is mortality, and I don't want to sound morbid, but he's 72. Let's say he's going to die within 15, 20 years. So the man's lived his billionaire lifestyle. If he just does what he says he's going to do, he doesn't need any more money. He could go down as one of the best to do it as far as putting the country first, because we're in a bad situation. We are giving it, we're giving it. We ain't taking anything. We're only taking in one spot. You know what I mean?
History will not be kind to him, though.
Well,
The people,
Donald Trump?
People are
Well, the people who
liberal,
write the history.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
we also see they're not
the
not kind
official-
to Reagan too.
Yeah, the official history of Donald Trump's presidency will not be golden age.
But
even though
it doesn't matter.
we have a,
It
even
doesn't
though
matter what they say though.
we
They
are,
can write it.
We're in one of the most peaceful times.
Yeah.
What the economy is the best it's been in 50 some years before Reagan. The
Yeah.
unemployment rate's lower than it went before
It's
Reagan.
like- yeah.
It's like the 60s.
Yeah.
Like stuff people today have never seen in their lifetime. We are so lucky.
Well, the markets are really healthy too.
Yes, yeah. The unemployment rate's lowest across all demographics, and I hate even saying that. But the thing is we won't ever acknowledge that even 100 years down the line. It
It
won't
doesn't
ever
matter.
be
They're going to write
acknowledged.
their narratives and
Yeah.
sort of take Jesus. They've been trying to rewrite this guy's narrative
Yeah.
since now, and guess what? There was a time when weren't able to print books and have our Bible apps.
Yeah.
And there was a time where they'd roll into town, take your strongest guy, kill him right in front of everyone,
Yeah.
and says, "Who's next?" And everyone says, "Okay." So at the end of the day, truth survives. It doesn't matter their narrative.
Well, I would say
You know what I mean?
the thing that really
It's like YouTube can ban you, who cares with these Dungeons and Dragons 10-point card?
Yeah.
It means nothing.
I would
They're pulling it out like it means something.
I would say what really defines a person, especially after they're gone, is if you look at JFK, and I am fascinated with JFK.
Trump's not any worse than what did
JFK do? JFK. The biggest thing that JFK is able to hold his hat on is he avoided
being good looking.
Yeah, well, he started the space program, which was only in response to the Soviets. That's the only reason why we started the space program. And then the only other thing he can really hold his hat on is like actual accomplishments was he avoided a war with the Soviet Union. That was it.
But isn't that kind of how we got into NAM, though?
Well, it was because we were going to invade Cuba.
Yeah.
He helped ratchet up these tensions so far that we were, at the closest point in our history to going to war with Russia or USSR at the time.
You'd be surprised how much inspiring hope and being
Exactly.
solid matters.
That was my point. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. He was a great speaker. He had great speeches. He was good looking.
But you believed it.
That's the thing, and he gave hope to people. Donald Trump, even though he's so straightforward, but not in a orthodox speaker, first way.
We're also not used to hearing. See, we've been kind of masculine down, so we're not used to hearing. What a behind closed doors, strong, get it done. Why not? You're fired. Oh, I didn't mean that.
It's because
you're rehired.
There's such a whole thing with toning down. Really, what in the end becomes not responsibility. What's the word? You do something, then a reaction happens. What's that word? Consequence. We've had such a dumbing down or a lessening of true consequence. We don't have to answer for the stuff our parents had to answer for.
Yeah,
we don't get paddled in school. We get we have to sit inside for recess one time maybe.
Yeah. Well, and I guess to answer the question succinctly, it's besides finding out that he's a two-face and is selling out the country.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You could say that about everyone.
He's incredibly defensive when it comes to America and the economy.
Well,
you can't deny that. He's very defensive of the country.
Yeah, well, I mean, and so it's kind of like JFK. I think I buy that Trump loves the country.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself is I mean, I'm going to just go full Lee Greenwald and say I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
I would say you're correct in that, and I'll admit I hadn't
that's the
thought
type
of
nationalism that I think he speaks of, and it's being taken here. And if we were to be able to get back, I think that's good for the kid who lives here, just like you. That's good for the kid who lives in some small town in Illinois. And then some kid who lives in the city of St. Paul.
I would say and
it's the same thing for JFK.
He's so. They want to say that he's a racist, a bigot, and these kind of things because he's not taking these hard stances on these social trends. It's not his job. It's not his place. He is not the conscience of the country. But he's there to kill people if they try to kill us.
Yeah, well, that's the chief.
That's the whole reason for this. He is not the master-in-chief. Is it the master-in-chief?
I think so.
Yeah.
Commander-in-chief.
Commander-in-chief. Fuck. Commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The only reason why we have a singular position filled by a single person is to defend the country.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there's presidential war powers.
Yeah.
He's not there to say what's good and what's bad. He's just there to kill people if we need to kill people.
Well, and it's the same thing like I said about David. That's the thing. A leader isn't there to be your moral leader. You know what I mean? You understand it's dirty work.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing in talking about it, reminds me of Will Smith. I noticed how Will Smith has been vocal,
Yep.
and especially more since Trump. And
I'm
I
not a
believe
fan
he
of Will
believes
Smith.
I'm not either, because he's not solid.
No.
50-something-year-old man. I mean, it's just, and but we see Will Smith, for all of the social media that he does in this and this, and for all they try, he doesn't come across as solid.
So-
and people, if had the choice, they make it seem like Will Smith and his way is the normal way, and I think average people, and if you listen to people who are solid, they're like, that ain't solid.
I would say it was so many people, especially like on social media, they look to Will Smith as inspirational. And,
He's trying to be.
Well, and
Isn't
to
it
try
kind
to
of pathetic,
give,
though?
well, to give, be inspirational and give guidance to people and those kind of things.
And some of that's cool.
Look at his kids.
That's
his
what I
kids
mean.
are fucked up.
But he wants to
Fucked
act like
up.
I'm helping people, which
Yeah.
seems like that's cool.
He's-
But his advice, like you said, it leads to somewhere you don't want to be.
If you want to see,
Do what you want to do.
yeah. Well, if you want to see the biggest influence, Will Smith can have on a person, you look at his kids.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and his kids are a little fucked up.
They're messed
He
up.
put these kids in the spotlight at such a young age, and you can't handle it. He didn't give normal lives to these kids. He's in an open relationship with whatever her name is, Jada Pinkett
Jada.
Smith, and she has a porn addiction apparently. It's like if your home is, it's like Jordan Peterson says, if your bed's not made, then you're not going to affect the world properly,
No.
or in a positive manner.
No. And that's and that's the bottom line. But we see the promotion of that perceived middle, which isn't the middle. I am so thirsty right now.
Do you want?
Holy water? No, I'll take this.
Right.
This in 1850. This was water. No, just kidding.
I'm gonna look this up really quick. Apparently, after Ireland invented whiskey, there was like a 300-year lull before they had another major invention. Major Irish inventions.
But look, and you see him promoting Will Smith now, though. He hadn't. I didn't see Aladdin. I don't think. Why would he play the genie?
They made him blue, didn't they?
Yeah, but it's like, come on, it's like
Okay.
they're really trying to promote him but you see how
Like
he's
a father figure.
he is, and he's just
he
not.
He ain't fucking. You will never find a better father figure and goofy dude than Robin fucking Williams. And I'm sure Robin Williams is liberals as shit.
Oh
So-
yeah, of course.
So if you Google or if you Wikipedia major. Okay, so timeline of Irish inventions and discoveries. When you go through it, there's this prehistory thing. And then in the 14th century, they invented Gaelic football and whiskey. And then it's 300 years before their next major invention, and it's road bowling. like what the fuck? They invented it, and then they took 300 years off. I didn't know if that was real. That's why I wanted to look that up.
That was probably when the
Shit's
Germans
hilarious.
and the English were philosophizing, and that's why they were all like Irish. Look at those drunken little
Dude,
guys.
that's hilarious. They invented it just fucked their shit up. This is pretty good. We'll just do this for a little bit,
So were potatoes imported
To Ireland?
but they weren't native to there, right?
I
They
don't
had that
know.
famine or something.
I don't know.
It's funny how many stories and things on your peripheral you think you know.
You look back at your childhood. I
Yeah.
remember reading stories of the big giant potato story where this lady she grew a big giant potato and it fed the village for the whole year, and then people hated the potato at the end of it, but they would die if they didn't have it.
Yeah.
I think the moral of the story was what you got may not be flashy, but it's keeping you going.
Yeah.
I think that was the moral of the story.
Yeah, no, it it sticks out. It's weird how you remember. I remember this. It must have been a Velcro propaganda. It was an assembly, and there was a guy doing a song about Velcro, and the song was Velcro. It's the cool thing to use. We'll be dancing into the 21st century with Velcro on our shoes. And it's like,
I have no idea.
I remember sitting in the auditorium.
Yeah.
The lights are out, and there they are programming
Selling
kids that love Velcro. You remember the yo-yo kids come in?
I remember the yo-yo kids.
I remember the yo-yo kids.
I remember yo-yo kids.
What's the yo-go?
YOLO. Yo-yo.
Oh,
Yo-yo. Shit.
Yeah,
Yep,
they came in and were doing all those tricks, and they must have sold like millions of those yo-yos.
I remember Pogs. I was really young when Pogs were cool. I was super young. My brother had Pogs. I never had Pogs. I was the Pokemon generation.
Yeah, I was right before that.
You were right before that. Yep.
You know, it's I was the Sega.
Tamagotchi. Do we both do Tamagotchi pets?
Oh yeah, with the Chia.
Yep.
Chia.
No, that's something different.
Oh really?
Chia is where you pour the water on like this like statue and it grows. Tamagotchi was this little. You gotta feed them or they'll die. Little animals.
What? I didn't.
No, I did
not do that.
One and I killed it. I remember when I flushed my sister's Polly Pockets down the toilet, and that was a major meltdown right there.
So how was discipline in your house? Let's not go down that road. What the fuck?
Not what you think. So what was the other question? We were gonna
well, just out of the candidates, coming into, maybe we don't want to do that, but out of the Democratic candidates, right? Because if you're having a struggle, saying, you know what, I'm sticking to my principles on an issue, and I don't know if I can vote for the guy who's perpetuating the issue I'm against.
Yep.
So, and not to quote the lesser of two evils, but who is sort of standing out to you as someone where you can say, I can pull that lever with a clear conscience?
Democrat-wise?
Is there a libertarian gearing up? If there is, they should be right now.
They should be, and there isn't. So, and maybe it's just because I'm more familiar. There's none I couldn't vote for any of them. I really couldn't. I find their when a Democrat pushes an issue, when they're trying to fight for someone, they disenfranchise those people and tell them that they need to elect them to give them power back. You know, that's the thing. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And I think you said something similar to that last week. It's if a Democrat wants to support you, they're going to tell you how shitty your life is and how little opportunity you have, and the only way to do it is for them to get you money or something like that.
Have you? What do you think? Because I mentioned her a lot. What do you think about Tulsi?
I don't know Tulsi that well.
Yeah, she's done a few interviews, and from what I've seen, she's a Democrat, and she's pretty much. You know,
I think Ron Paul talked about her.
Yeah, and she served as a veteran, and she's got the a really anti-interventionist stance.
If you're anti-war and you don't think that political office is a social office, then I would be behind you.
Yeah, no, I would.
Those are the two things I care about, right? I think when you politicalize a population, you're divvying it up and you're deciding who to ask for their votes. Get their votes. That's how I see it.
Yeah, well, maybe something that would be fun for to kind of do a deep dive on each candidate, like a 5-minute thing, because it's like just to kind of familiarize ourselves with just like Tulsi or.
In 6 days, it's the first debate.
It is, and that's going to really kind of shake the. That's going to be the first time we see them head to head.
How about
and
this?
You're going to see who's going to fall away.
How about this? Because we're at an hour and 15 minutes right now, so we should probably wind down. How about this? We'll do research on these candidates here. I'm going to watch both debates. Are you going to watch both debates?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Next podcast will be us talking about the debates.
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah, I wish there was some type of, maybe if we can watch it and there's a way to pause it and kind of go in between, because, a lot of good ideas. But
we figure something out.
Yeah, one thing, I had just another question, and it could be asked of me too, and maybe it's something we can ponder for the future, but in talking to, say, someone on the right or the left, what do you say to someone who's on the left and says, but the right is the one who's fear-mongering and, the Muslim ban and, separating people at the border and, Trump being they think that Trump is not a good person. How do you sort of have a meaningful conversation? How do you bridge that? Yeah. Because we see that they don't, let's just say the powers that be don't want that. So how do we kind of build bridges to find common ground? You know what I mean?
I think when people disagree, you ask the extreme alternative.
Yeah.
So if we shouldn't be detaining people at the borders, should we not have borders? I think most people should say we should know who's coming into the country. So then you find the middle ground there somewhere. Yeah. I think if you ask the extremes, typically people won't agree with the extremes, and then that there is you end up being closer than you believe.
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on that?
No, well, that's the same thing. It's just, but look, if I was, and I'm sure you come to this too, because I try to be as objective as I can sometimes. Yeah. As an objective thinker, I mean, I don't like certain things about the right, but I don't feel like, they're
Did you
really
say the Reich?
The right, but I don't feel like they're sort of involved in this sort of, like what you said in describing it, how they're, it's sort of like, tribalism. Yeah. It's like I believe tribalism, statism, mixed with sort of, a progressive attitude that sort of is like takes their experts as the final say, even though what they thought 20 years ago is now replaced by this.
Yep.
So it's kind of like right now is all that we know, and the truth is truth as we know it, even if it doesn't reflect scientific fact.
One thing I would say,
I see that as kind of being like, and like that's a scary thing left unchecked, and we don't even know what the consequences to that is, except for the 20th century being the bloodiest in world history, where they started to flirt with those ideas of implementing socialism, communism, in Russia, Germany, and China. And there's, it's just the track record is not good for the power to be centralized with the state, little individual.
Totally.
So that's kind of...
One thing I would say, and we won't talk about this, but anyone over like 45, 50, 60 some years old, if they are super, the planet's going to die from global warming, call bullshit, because they were taught throughout high school how the planet was, we needed to fight against global cooling, and they talked about it with the exact same
fervor.
Exactly.
Same rhetoric, everything.
They are just ping-ponging around. I wouldn't trust them.
Well,
there should be some, I wouldn't say that they are being discerning much in their information.
No, and I would say the same pseudoscience that ping-pongs at, I believe it's the same pseudoscience that ping-pongs black inferiority and white superiority. They're the same type of like pseudoscience. It's like human being, not human being. Embryo, baby. It's like these things that are like, wait a minute.
Turning the world black and white.
Yeah, and they're flipping a coin. They're using the same tactic against the other one.
Yeah,
it's like I'm
similar themes throughout.
Very similar themes, and it's no coincidence that those themes are kind of like fruits of progressive enlightenment. It's like that, and it's pretty nefarious actions when you see it play out. Last thought is, I think I heard it in maybe not in that video, but somebody talking about reparations, and they just had sort of like a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Sort of like, during slavery times, they deemed a black man not a human being.
Yeah.
Right? Well, right now, and so we're coming back and saying, hey, you should owe for that, right? Now, we're not debating that, Merritt, but what about abortion? They're telling people, hey, that baby's not a human being. Well, what happens 50 years from now? Or even they already know scientifically it is, when they say, hey, wait a minute, you had me kill my child because you said it wasn't a human being. and think about the repercussions of that, as far as what they're causing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I agree. So reparations, what I would say is, if Democrats truly believe that the work of your parents is a work that you would be owed, then they wouldn't believe in a death tax.
Yeah.
They wouldn't tax your parents' income because that's your money. That's the thing. So and we I don't want to
go
get
down
into,
the road. We'll just leave it at
shit.
Well, the next episode we're talking about reparations.
I do want to talk about reparations, actually, but I think I want to talk about the candidates, because reparations doesn't get brought up anyways. So
it is.
We'll probably talk about the debates next time, and then maybe more reparations afterwards. We'll see if it keeps talking. It's only been like a week or so since they've been talking about it.
No,
so.
I mean, yeah,
it has been a huge. They put that bill up a couple weeks ago, but that was just for show. So, all right. So, I think how you feeling? You feeling pretty good on that one?
Yeah. No, I think it was just.
That was a pretty good conversation. Honestly, I thought that was pretty good.
What it is.
I enjoyed it. I thought we hit some good points there. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. You would be subscribing to Well, That's Your Opinion, Man, our podcast here. This has been. We did not introduce ourselves. This has been Andrew Shellen, along with
Dennis.
There we go. So give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you share this, I'm just going to tell you, if you share this shit, it helps out tremendously.
Well, I'm going to cut in real quick and say, if you share this and you private message us, we'll send you a Well, That's Your Opinion, Man shirt, because we're getting them printed up.
No.
We're doing it.
We need a website first.
I don't care. You're going to get a shirt with Dwight on the cover if you share this and get some followers here.
Honestly, if you send us a message, so our email is welit'syouropinionman@gmail.com.
Make these guys make the shirts.
Yeah, or like us on Facebook. Send us a message. If you actually do that, I will fucking print out a shirt and I'll fucking mail it to you.
Yep.
I don't care. Well, we'd like to thank you again for listening to another episode of Well, That's Your Opinion, Man. Y'all have a great day, night, morning. Have fun going to work whenever you end up listening to this. We'll see you pretty damn soon, it sounds like.
They're much too big to try to dig the colorful things we say.